Hey guys, I'm here with Amy Vo from Alvo Laser Cuts and Designs. We are here to talk about how to turn the side hustle into a full-time job. So walk us through the entrepreneurial journey as turning the side hustle into a full-time job, the genesis, how it all got started, all that good jazz.
How I got started. I think 2018, I was browsing through the internet late at night and came across like a tabletop laser cutter. And it was 12 by 18, not really large, just like a hobby size machine. And I thought, well, that looks like really fun. I could play and do some really fun things with that. I had no intention to start a business whatsoever. I just wanted some sort of creative outlet because at the time I was working as an architectural designer at a residential firm in Houston, and it just didn't cut it for me. I think I needed some sort of creative outlet. I'm always tinkering with things constantly, and it just kind of like sparked my interest. So I purchased it. It came in, it sat on my desk in my office for like 6 months because I didn't know what to do with it or what I could even create, because the paralysis of a creative is like, I don't know what to do with it. There's so many possibilities. Where do I start? And so eventually I cracked it open, started cutting stuff and doing things. And then a friend of mine who is a baker, she had a successful baking business and she wanted these custom acrylic cake toppers for her clients. And so we started doing that. And then I think news just kind of fled into like cakes and businesses and events and parties. And I did it part time for quite some time. I think 2021 was when I went full time. So that was what, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because now that I look back at it, I talk about this sometimes with my husband and my kids. I'm like, I don't know how I did that. I did a 9 to 5. I got up at 8 a.m. Didn't get home till like 6 o'clock, and then on top of that, I was home designing, cutting, creating, shipping out orders just as an organic thing, just for fun, really. I didn't think anything was going to come out of it. And then eventually, over the years, business picked up and a light bulb went inside, and I was like, this is credible. We could do this. If I could do this 100% of my time, it would be worth it. And I think that when the pandemic hit, that was really the turning point, because family was everything. People were suffering a lot, but also I think a lot of joy came out of the pandemic. And because of that, my priorities changed. It shifted a little bit. I had young kids. My daughter was 3 or 4 at the time, and I wanted to spend more time with it. Because the pandemic, we worked from home, and I really loved that. And I was like, this is great. How do I make this my permanent situation?
Right. Because we're all going back to the office, right? In most places.
Yeah. So, I really took the leap and I was like, I'm going to quit my job. Because at that point, it wasn't really anything that was exciting to me. My career, I was actually getting to the point where I was a lead designer on a lot of projects, and that felt good. But for some reason, it didn't feel like enough. I needed to do it on my own terms. I needed to create on my own terms. It just didn't fit the boxes that I was looking for. And so I just took the leap. 2021, had a little quick discussion with my husband, like, are you okay with this? Can we do this? And he's like, yeah, why not? And so we jumped the gun, and the business grew to the point where I was able to make my salary plus more at home. And so I was like, okay, well, I think it's time to move out of my spare bedroom and like get an actual studio, so we could do bigger things, build it faster, do it better. And that's kind of where it all started. Definitely the first year was hard, getting to know the processes of everything, creating, trying different things with clients and things like that. But I think it was something that turned out really good for me. Like creatively, I'm inspired. I am happy to go into work every day. All that.
Okay. Share with us the side hustle aspect. So I think a lot of people go, okay, I got to start this business. I started from ground one. Talk about even the granular details of upgrading machines, new spaces, publication wins, that kind of stuff.
The granular things, right? Like, yeah, we definitely had to upgrade to a bigger machine because the demand was a lot higher. I would have to stay up to like 3 a.m. in the morning to like wait for my cuts to finish so then I could load in another sheet and like it could cut again. And so off the bat, I already knew that we needed a bigger and faster machine in order to grow. And the space quickly outrunning the space. I mean, like my spare bedroom was like filled to the rim with like scrap pieces and all that junk. And then even my garage was also the same story. And so it just kind of, I needed a clear delineation from home and work. That was a big part of it. Yeah, and lots of little things that upgrading packaging and making sure that the toppers were packaged in a certain way where they wouldn't break in shipping and where it was aesthetic and pleasing to also to me and to the client. Always pushing out good products. Yeah.
So the psychology behind the jump. So I think a lot of people have side hustles.
Yeah.
Some do, some don't. Some thinking about it. The jump from side hustle to full time.
Ooh.
Process, the ideas, the worries, the concerns. What's going through your mind?
The process of that. Let's see. I had I mean, worry, obviously, number one is finances, but let's be honest, I was an architect. We weren't making a ton of money. So making that, I didn't feel like was going to be a problem. It was just that I needed more to sustain my family and the lifestyle that I wanted.
Yeah.
And I knew already off the bat that the journey of being an architect for the rest of my life was not going to satisfy those needs. So making the jump was quite easy for me. I talked to my boss about it and I was like, I'm going to move in a different direction and peace out. And that was kind of it. And then after that, registered for my, I think, no, I registered my LLC before then. Just really having 100% of my time focused on the business was the early stages of Alvo was really fun because that was kind of where I was developing my brand identity and like focusing on the direction of where I was going and what I wanted to do with it as a creative business owner. Yeah.
And what changes did you have to make, whether it's mindset or work or whatever you had to do from that get side hustle to full time?
It wasn't a game anymore.
Right.
If I had zero sales on my side hustle, I'm fine. But like now when I have, or even but when I first started, I was like, when I were low on sales, it would stress me out a little bit. And I'm just like, well, what can we do to ramp this up? I think it helps me be adaptive and be more creative in terms of like how I can market, how I can, as being part of associations and networking and all that stuff like I didn't like to do before that I was kind of forced into. And I actually enjoy doing it more as an entrepreneur because I'm talking about my business and my passion versus somebody else's.
Right. When you're going through that full time flip, we'll call it, right? I think a lot of people have concerns from a financial perspective, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're making a lot of money or not as an architect, you still got to make a consistent living, right? Because you got bills, you got kids and that kind of stuff, right? What helped you assure that this would work? Or what kind of things in your mind that you said, I can figure this out?
I can't pinpoint it exactly. I think it's trusting the process and trusting my creativity and all the things that we talked previously in the other podcast was like the resilience and the grit. I knew I had the work ethic. The work ethic kind of set the grounds for the business. As long as you have a good work ethic, I think the business will come, the money will come, the clients will come. And it was something that was creative and something that a lot of people didn't like. I was offering something that a lot of people thought was unique.
Right.
And I thought it was unique and I was passionate about it and it was fun for me. I didn't think of it like, oh, this is gonna be my end game. I'm gonna quit this job, like laser cutting stuff. It just didn't like we started doing ornaments and cake toppers. It was just like really small things. There's no way somebody could make a living off of this. In my mind, that's what I was thinking. But then like later on, I was like, you know what? Screw it. Like, why not? We've gone this far. I'm making a pretty good amount of money. And if I just poured my 110% energy into it, instead of wasting my time at my regular 9 to 5, I think I
I was wasting time.
not okay. I'm not gonna dismiss architecture. Architecture they gave me a very good platform and gave me the framework of what I do because I wouldn't have known laser cutting if I didn't go to architecture school.
Yeah.
And very design based school that I went to was very design based. I was always kind of like within the design field. So yeah, no, it just trusting the process, trusting the gut and my intuition. I know this is gonna work. And then just kind of, making the plan of what to do and how to make it work, right?
Okay. For the folks out there that are going, the evolution I think is key too, right? Because I don't know that cake toppers and ornaments are really where you're at now,
No.
right? So, um, talk to us about the evolution, right? So I think that's always fun for people to think about because just because you started making cake toppers and ornaments, that's great at 20 to $50 a pop or whatever they
Yeah.
were,
Yeah.
right? Talk to me about the evolution.
Well, I think the more and more we got into our business, the more people sought after our products and the creativity level. A lot of my clients come to me for the design perspective. They're like, I love your aesthetic. I love the details that you pour into your work. Can you do XYZ? And so that's how it kind of grew to like, okay, I can do more than drinksters and bar menus. We do full, installs and backdrops. And I think the level of care that we put into our work really shows through. And that's why clients kind of gravitate towards. But yeah, it was just kind of something that happened organically. I didn't plan on doing these large scale setups. It was just like people were asking for it. And it became something that, like, yeah, we can absolutely do that. And it just kept growing and growing on our portfolio now. The things that we do is quite vast. A lot of times people are like, can you do this? And I'm like, I'm not sure, but let me get back to you. And so we kind of like do a little bit of triaging and figuring it out. And then 9 times out of 10, it works out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're kind of famous now, right? Which you've done
I'm not famous.
because
Far from it.
because you've done events for you got to give the publication and the background on that, and then the golf thing too. So the only two things I remember. So why don't you expand the little?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, we're not famous. Let's be clear. We have done weddings for people, Nick and Natalie Bile from The Bachelor. We've done products for the PGA World Tour, worked with lots of brands like Lululemon, Wells Fargo, American Cancer Society, Nike, like, all of those really cool products. And I think it's great that they reach out to smaller businesses to help them with that. And I think people come to me knowing that I execute well, I have a creative eye, and they trust that I will just get it done and do it well.
See, guys, sounds kind of famous to me. All right. So I think when the next thing people think about is the nitty gritty behind it, right? So financing these equipment and this machine, and God, I'm gonna spend $30,000 on a thing to make it work. I don't know if this is gonna work. Talk us through that process.
So the first big purchase that we did was our mega laser cutter. It is a 3x4, 3 feet by 4 feet wide laser cutter. And that was a pretty penny. It was 12,000. And for us back then, that seemed like a lot of money. And I paid it out of pocket because I had this like anxiety with getting into debt, and we can talk more about that later. But like now that I am more experienced, I feel like debt is a good thing. But back then I was like, no, I'm not gonna finance this. We're gonna pay this directly out of pocket. And we did. And so because we bought a bigger machine, we needed a bigger space. So that was like, okay, now I have to pay rent money that I never had to pay before. And I was like, oh crap, this is better work. Like it
Yeah.
has to work. And so signed my lease, did a 3-year lease into my space. And then a year after that, we purchased our UV printer, which was it's a pretty penny, but it's paid off multiple times. Actually, paid off in its first year, but it was scary to
That
jump
one
in.
you financed a little bit, right?
We did finance that one a little bit, but in the end, I couldn't do it, so I just paid off the lump sum. Like,
I think it's always important for people to think through that idea and the decision making and that kind of stuff, right?
yeah,
So we've gone through the entrepreneurship beginning, right? The straight out of your spare bedroom to the garage, from the garage to the studio, from one small machine to another big machine. What's next?
I don't know. We contemplated about getting a bigger space because the more and more we do things, the more space we need. I think the projects are getting bigger, the installations are getting larger, and we've built quite a nice little library of rentals for events and weddings and such like that. And so being able to store that and offering more design services, like a lot of people are kind of coming to us for like whole package type of deal. So now I don't think I told you this, but I do have invitations like wedding invitations, paper goods, all of that wrapped into one. Because signage for events is a lot of times overlooked because it's not like the big wow factor, right? It's like the little details like welcome your guests, make your guests feel seen and appreciated for coming to their big event. So a lot of, I think, the trends for 2026 and coming up is like it's not less about the wow factor, it's more about the experience that you feel when you go to an event. So focusing more on those little details is kind of our passion because it's like, okay, you go to a really cool event, but it's like, what about me? Like what people are looking for, what about me? What makes this special? And it's like, oh, you sit down, you see a menu and a place card that has your name on it and like cute little takeaways that you can take home that's actually useful and just, really well thought out and detailed stuff. And as long as it's cohesive throughout from invitation to the day of signage is really important to create a nice long lasting impression with your guests.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So if they want some fun design stuff, reach out to Alvo. You can find her on Instagram, whatever it is. Put it at the bottom of the deal. Other than that, enjoyed it. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with us and talking about the part-time hustle to a full-time job.
Awesome. Thanks, Min.